Okay, hello everyone, welcome to this video. So today I'm going to explain the misconception of these two expressions. I don't call it equations because they don't have an equal sign in the mathematical statement, so they are both expressions. Okay, so I think the more familiar one to you will be on the right hand side. Okay, let's label this right hand side and this is the left hand side. Okay, just briefly take a look on these both statements, these both expressions. Do they look the same or are they totally the same? If you really notice there a slight difference between them, that is this negative sign is placed at different position. The left hand side one, it is in between 8x and the bracket, and on the right hand side it is in front of 8x and the bracket. So although they look the same, but the answer of the outcome can be pretty different. So let's take a look on the right hand side first because I think this is more familiar to you. So how to do this expansion, or how do we expand it? So it's the very same process that I've been repeating all the time. You say hello to the first neighborhood and you also say hello to the second neighborhood. So remember, the negative cannot be ignored or neglected outside. It has to always be together with the 8x. So they're actually like a couple, or they're actually twins. They cannot be separated. The whole yellow color thing has to be always together. So when you multiply negative 8x with 7x, we just look at the numbers. You get negative 56, right? Because negative, positive, you get negative. And how about the x? We have x outside and also x inside. So when x multiply with x, you will get x squared. Okay? And let's take a look at the second one. Second one, we only have positive 1 and negative 8x outside. So again, let's take a look on the number only. So negative 8 and positive 1, when they multiply together, you will get negative 8. And because there's only one x, so we just have x. Okay, so this is it. This is the final answer for this expansion, because you just have to multiply with the first one and the second one. So this is the usual way of redoing it. But today I want to discuss, and the main focus is on the left hand side. It is not actually an expansion, I would say. Okay, why do I say so? Because if you take a look at the formation or the format of them writing in this way, it is something like a minus b. When I say a, it represents 8x, and when I say b, it is the whole bracket. And how about the right hand side? It is actually like a multiply with b plus a negative in front of a. So it's something like a negative a multiplied with b. So they are actually totally different. For example, I say negative 8 minus multiply with 2, you will get negative 16, right? But in this case, it is something like 8 minus 2, it is 6. So are they the same? No, in this case it can be obviously seen that they are totally different because the way they are written is different. Something minus something and something multiplied with something, they are different. Okay, so I just want you to be clear with this so we can continue to the left hand side solution. Okay, let me just kind of move this down so that you can still see these, but it won't affect my solutions. Okay, so for this case, what we have to do is to imagine there's a 1 here, because when we write nothing, it actually means 1. It's just like 1a, we will only write a, right? We won't write 1a in a solution because it is not required. So same as here, when we don't write anything before or after the negative, it simply means negative 1. So actually, if you want to view it as an expansion way, it's also acceptable, because you also have to put the negative 1 inside the first neighborhood and -1 into the second neighborhood. It is exactly the same as the right hand side, except for this time you are only multiplying the -1. You are not multiplying the 8x. So you see the 8x is still remaining there. It has nothing to do with 8x and none of its business. It is still standing there because they are not visiting their house. The only visiting process happens here. Okay, focus on this part only. You understand? So when we continue with the second step, all we have to do is just to copy down 8x because they are actually resting there. They didn't go anywhere to visit to anybody's house, so they just stay at their own house. So you don't have to multiply them to anywhere. You just stay there. And for the -1, you multiply in the first neighborhood, which is the 7x. What do you get? You get -7x. And how about the second one? -1 multiplied with +1, you still get negative, and it is 1. So are we done yet? No, because we can still further simplify this whole expression. And there's one thing that I want to remind you is that x can only multiply or minus with x, y can only plus or minus with y. It is like 8 apples minus 7 apples, you get 1 apple. But can you actually minus 1? I'm referring to this one. Can you actually say that 8x minus 7x equals to x, then x minus 1 equals to 0? No, they are not the same, okay? Numbers are numbers, x are x. So you only can plus and minus with the x, and the 1 is a different case. So in this case, 8x minus 7x, if you don't understand this way, just tell yourself that it is 8 apples and 7 apples. When you have 8 apples, then you give people 7 apples. How many apples do you left with? Yes, only 1 apple. But remember, we don't write 1x because the 1 is not necessary, so we only write x. And then the -1 or the -1, we just copy down. Do we have to like use x minus 1 and to get something new? No, because it doesn't make sense. 1 is number, x is a variable. They cannot be plus or minus together. So understand this, yeah? And then I'm gonna give you another example. I'm gonna ask you whether x can minus with y or not. No, because x and y, they are totally different variable. It's just like 10 apples minus 7 oranges. How many do you get? It doesn't make sense because I'm not asking you how many apples left or oranges left. They are different things, so they cannot be added together. They also cannot be minus together. So please take note on this part. How about x, y, and x? Although both have x, but they are still the different thing. For example, xy is mangoes and x are apples. They are still the different things, so you cannot assume that they can be simplified together, or they cannot be minus together, they cannot be added together. And how about numbers with variables? Same. They cannot be further simplified as well because they are different things. One might be socks, the other thing might be shoes. Shoes can minus with socks? No. Only socks can minus with socks. Something like this, you get 2x. Something like this, you get 0. But if y minus 1, can you say it's 0? No, it's not equal to 0. Okay, so I just need you to be very clear and be sure about this concept so that you don't make any further mistakes later on. So in this part, I think I'm pretty clear, or I've made a very clear statement right here. The left hand side, it is a minus b, and the right hand side is negative a multiplied with b. So they are totally different thing, and so their solutions can be totally different as well. So remember, when you are multiplying the negative 1 into the first house and second house, it has nothing to do with the 8x. So don't multiply the 8x into the 7x or to the 1, because it doesn't move at all, okay? So if you have any questions, just tell me and I'll explain it to you the next time. Thank you.